player?
The core group of the secondary, the young guys at corner who didn't play last year, the Braylon Conley, Marcellus Williams, you got Isaiah Rubin, Marquise Gallegos, a bunch of those guys have made drastic and major improvements in their second year within the scheme. And then you look at older guys like Kamari Ramsey, Christian Pierce, DeCarlos Nicholson, Prophet Brown, the guys that were here, just the understanding of, how we operate, how we practice, what the expectation is consistently. All of those things have shown up. And then you throw in all of these new guys that we added, DJ Harvey, Bishop Fitzgerald, some of those guys that have been added to the room, they've kind of just been able to step in and morph right in with those older guys, so it's been really good so far.
With the way guys can just transfer in a blink of an eye, what does it tell you about a guy like Prophet Brown, who's stuck it out, who's been here from the beginning?
It tells you a lot, just about who he is. One, he's one of the most phenomenal kids on our team, on the field and off of the field, and just his love for USC. There was never a question for him. So, and then as a player, he does so many things well. He'll have an increased role this year in football, and as far as being a leader, one of the most well-respected guys on our team who could play every position in the secondary if needed. So he's kind of the Swiss Army knife that does a bunch of things well, and he's got a lot of experience so far. So he's doing a good job.
And I asked that because he's similar to like a Jaylen Smith, and all of a sudden you see the payoff on draft day.
Yeah, I see Prophet, in a very similar role. Like he could play corner, he could play nickel, he could play safety, but his intelligence level and his willingness to do whatever the team needs is the thing that stands out the most about him. He's selfless. He's a great person. His energy is infectious every day. He's the same person, never complains. All he does is work. So very happy to have him to be a part of what we're doing. But I think his influence carries over to a lot of other guys on our team, offense, defense, special teams, just because the consistency that he brings, a positive attitude, and then his intelligence level to be able to play every position in the secondary at a high level. So I'm excited for him to have an increased role because he's really earned it. He's stuck it out. He's done everything the right way. He's taken those shortcuts, and I think everybody on the team, and especially the coaching staff, really appreciates that about him.
How cool was that being with Jaylen on draft night? You're there. I saw Coach Lynn was there. Caleb Bullock was there. They're now teammates. That was that
Man,
moment.
it was. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been very fortunate to coach some good players. I had that opportunity, but that's at the top of my list for moments that I've had in my career. From the time I've gotten here, we developed a very strong relationship, not only with them, but his dad and his family. So I spent a lot of time with them, and just the things he's battled through losing his mom at a young age, to kind of being a local celebrity, to being in the Snoop League, to being a 4-year starter and contributing here, and he's played every position in the secondary. And when we talked about moving him to corner, I think it was something that paid dividends for him because he showed the ability to play in the slot. He showed the ability to play safety and have range in different areas. But I think his body type and his skill set, being able to show the versatility to play man-to-man, to play zone, and really the most impressive thing about him as a football player is just the way that he tackles people for his size, with the physical nature, the willingness to play physical. And I think every NFL team was excited to be in the position to have a chance to draft him. And then just the impact that he makes in the room. I've never seen him have a bad day. The positive energy. You could roll the ball out in the parking lot, he's going to show up and play. He loves football, loves to compete. And our relationship grew through some of his struggles and just his willingness to want to get better. And he knew it was his last opportunity here at USC. He wanted to make the best of it. So his focus level was at an all-time high. The detail that he played with, the competitive spirit that he has. So for me, to be a part of that with him and his family, and that he wanted us to be a part of it, was a really big deal for us. And him going to Houston with Bullock, I think that's going to be great for him. He's going to a great place, obviously with D'Amico there as the head coach, being a former player and well respected as a player, now as a coach. Everybody that's there in the organization loves to work with him. And all the players love playing for him, and then having some familiarity with Bullock, I think is going to pay off dividends, because as a rookie, once you go in these situations, every time you start something new, you have to reinvent yourself. and so that process will be much easier. Then he's going into a secondary with some all-star caliber players, Pro Bowl caliber players, and some of the pieces that they added. I think it's just going to be able to prolong his career, to learn from veteran guys who are doing it. And then the position versatility that he's going to bring there is going to be awesome, no different than what he was in college. So I'm excited to see his future, really proud of him, and was very grateful to be able to spend those moments with him.
You were the DC at Houston. What is it about the Houston Texans that just their love for USC right now?
I just think it's USC. It's very difficult to, not be able to notice some of our players. And I talk to recruits about this all the time. This is USC. There's no game that's not going to be prime time. There's no game that you walk in the Coliseum and it's not a surreal feeling. And everybody that plays here wants to experience playing in the Coliseum. And just the brand, and I think we got a high-level coaching staff, starting defensively with Coach Land and all the position coaches, and under Coach Riley's leadership. I think it's very hard, no matter who's here. USC has been good for a long time, and you look at the draft record and the most players drafted. So you look at all these different things, and all of these guys on our team last year were very close. And you look at Woody and Jaylen, and you got Bullock. All these guys that are there now with a great opportunity to compete in a great organization in a great city like Houston. And I'm actually really excited, partially, that he's going to be down in Houston. And I've developed a really good relationship with Bullock as well. He's around a lot. And he's very close with Jaylen and Tone Beavers and a bunch of these guys. So for those guys to have an opportunity that kind of came in together, grew up playing against each other, to play at USC together and then be teammates at the professional level is really a dream come true for any of these guys, and for us to be able to really have all these guys on the same team is pretty cool.
We talk about the locker room camaraderie between the players all the time. Talk about the coaching camaraderie that's going on right now. Coach Ryan called you the general. How did that come about?
He said all I do is recruit 5 stars, so he calls me the general, but I don't know if that's true. But really big compliment coming from him, just, his experience, his knowledge of the game and everything that he's done, and, so many things that in my career I still want to emulate, to have him and, Eric Henderson, Dan Leonard, and T. Reed, Coach Riley, strength and conditioning, all these different people, and is awesome for me. It's awesome for our players, awesome for our staff, and me personally, I'm always want to be a life learner. So anything that I could take from different people to, help me be a better coach and a better person, and then obviously carry that on to our players is what I want to be able to do. And my goal for everybody that I impact is that if they're around me or if they play for us here, is that they leave here a better player and a better person. So getting to know these guys on a personal level, getting a bunch of different information. It's a lot of ball knowledge in the D staff room, so some of the conversations that we have, they can go all day. For me, especially to be able to sit in there with Coach Land and we just sit in there and bounce ideas off and coverages and fronts and watch a lot of ball, and that's really, both of our passions. And my biggest passion is the people, and then the love and the passion to compete. And so you add all those together with a staff like this, with the players that we've been able to acquire with Coach Riley's leadership, I think, the recipe for success is going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get better as long as we stay the course.
The players talk about how when practice is over, they just like to hang out in the locker room, just be with each other. Can you explain how important that is to building that winning drive to go further?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think where you see it pay off the most is the trust that you gain.
Okay.
And for all of our older guys, I'm always talking to guys like Kamari Ramsey and Carlos Nicholson and Prophet and these older guys about the way that you lead. And there's a bunch of different ways to lead, and the camaraderie that you have in the locker room is very important. We always talk about in the secondary being a player-led team. And every good team, I've been fortunate to be a part of 3 national championships and a bunch of conference championships, and all those teams have the same traits. No matter what sport or what level it is, you have to have player-led teams, and the players taking the onus upon themselves to spend more time together and grow and trust each other is the foundation of a winning program. And then when you take that into account with all the other things that, as a staff, that we structure for them, I think it turns into what we want to be. And then the other thing that I think really goes unnoticed is in a place like LA, in a major city that's not a college town, sometimes those things go missing, right? Because of the dynamics of being in a major city. So for our guys to spend as much time together, and I know they're doing cookouts on the weekends, they're hanging out in the locker room, it's a bunch of different things that they're taking upon themselves to build, and that's one thing that we talk about a lot. So I think that they'll continue to do that, and the stronger the bond, the stronger we'll be, and then ultimately the greatest respect that you can have is of your peers. And so I talk to the DBs about it all the time. Is we talk about player-led team, and then you talk about the respect that you have, because the locker room knows the investment that you actually have. They know what you do when you're not here, and then they are ultimately able to see what you do when you are here, right? So just the respect of your peers, the respect of the locker room, the better we build that, the more trust that we have, the more opportunities we're going to have to win some of those close games that we may not have gotten out of last year, that we got to get over the hump and continue to build this program the way that Coach Riley, administration, and as a coaching staff that we want to be able to do.
You have a really good blend of veterans and youth in the room. Who are some of the younger guys that you saw come through the spring that say, you know what, they can play this year?
Yeah, I think it all starts, we kind of know the veteran guys, so I've been more focused on with the young guys, just the attention to detail, the consistency of performance. But you could take the whole last year's class and you see major improvement, starting with Marcellus. He was right on the brink of, breaking into the lineup. Last year he had an injury. Braylon Conley, the same thing. He ended the spring, on a tear, having a great offseason so far. Then you go into Marquise Gallegos, who took major strides as well. And then you kind of keep going along those lines. And Isaiah Rubin is a guy who I'm really excited about as well. And he's one of those unique players, like we talked about Jaylen, we talked about Prophet, that can play every position and has an outstanding skill set that can do a lot of things well. So you take a combination of those guys, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for us to be able to see those guys in the game, because I judge guys on how they play and how they perform in games. I hate practice players who want to develop in practice. Me and Coach Lane especially are very even-keeled about practice, and it's all about the tools that we equip them with to go out and be able to perform at a high level in the game. So I'm just excited to see, Marcellus and Braylon, Marquise, Isaiah Rubin to get in the game and have an opportunity to contribute at a high level. And the development process continues as we go into fall camp. Starts with special teams, earning a role in special teams. And every DB here is going to be on two, whether it's Kamari or whether it's Isaiah Rubin, treat them all the same. Because if you want long-term development to play at the next level, you have to be able to do those things if you want to sustain your career. So we want to train them on those things now. And then you look at some of the guys that early enrolled, like Tristan Castro, a local kid that I was very excited to get here. I thought he did an outstanding job this spring of learning and growing. And for those guys, they got to go through the growing pains. And we as coaches see them as being a part of our team. But those guys came in at 17 and they're still high school kids. So for them to be able to adapt, Alex Graham has an outstanding skill set to play multiple positions, has size, has speed. I think he's going to be a guy that can contribute early and often. And then James Johnson is kind of like slippery, played offense in high school, defense in high school, so he's kind of settled in, playing defense, but he also is in the return game, so he'll have a lot of value for us as well. So I'm really excited about our young guys. Those guys continue to compete and contribute because it's open competition. We want as many guys to be at a high level as we can, to be able to play as many guys as we can. So hopefully they continue to progress, and we get a lot of those guys that are young in the mix early, and then it just helps as we continue to build the future. We can build out of high school and not live in a transfer portal. And we have a lot of trust in those guys as they continue to develop. That's how you end up having long-term stability and have able to win at a high level with the same group of guys that invest in each other, and that those same guys that are spending time in the locker room and off the field, they build a different type of bond, and they'll have lifelong friendships and relationships, and that's how we want to be. So I'm excited, for all of those guys to have opportunities to come in and play.
Where have you seen kind of Christian Pierce kind of separate himself from
Yeah, everybody asks me about Christian. They know how I feel about him, and I think, he's one of the most talented kids that we have defensively, regardless of position. And, he's done things the right way. As a freshman, he got hurt, had an injury, didn't finish the season. And then last year, he played the most special teams reps on our team, over 200 reps on special teams. And then you look at how he finished the season from a developmental process. He went in against A&M and played lights out when we needed him to play in the most critical moments of the game. So, I'm really excited about him. He's really closed the gap. I mean, he's in a heightened, competition right now. He's one of the guys that I believe in as much as anybody because the investment that he puts in every day. He's always watching extra film. He wants to be great. And then if you've seen him play, the edge that he plays with, the physical nature that he brings, and he's developed so many other parts of his game, then I'm really, really looking forward to the impact that he can bring, not only on special teams, but as well as being a starting caliber player on our defense right now. It does a lot of different things well, and I think our team really likes Christian Pierce because he brings that same energy and physicality every day. So I'm really looking forward to see what the future holds for him. He did have a really good spring, even better than the way that he finished the fall. So excited about him moving forward as well.
You talked a little bit ago about maintaining an even keel as far as your emotions are going. Are there times where you say, you know what, I'm going to step out of that and see what kind of reaction I get?
I'm going to push all the buttons. But, I want to let them, my philosophy kind of is how I handle practices. I take the most pride in being a great teacher. And so from the meeting room to the individual periods and the group periods, that's when I'm at a heightened sense of energy and passion and pushing and all of those different things and finding different ways to approach people and how we need to get them to get over that hump or push them to be the best that they could be, especially when their best is needed on game day. I think secondary to that is every player is different. And so the cool thing for me now is everybody in the DB room, I've either coached or I've recruited all of them. Right? And so I know them from a personal level, what makes them tick. And some guys need to be pushed, some guys need to get yelled at a little bit to get going. And then some of these other guys, based off their personality, I call them in my office or I pull them to the side. Understanding what's the best way to reach those guys is really what I try to focus on more than just when we're pushing them. It's the personality traits. And my thing is I want every player to be coached fairly, but everybody's not going to be coached exactly the same because we want to get the best out of each individual person. So they know when I flip that switch what time it is. But typically in 11-on-11 situations, I stand away from the play because I want them to develop their own game. I want to know what they know, and I want them to communicate with each other because when we're in the Coliseum or we're playing on a national stage, I can't save them, right? So I want them to get those experiences and practices. So we're going to continue to try to push and mold them in those situations.